Evening everyone, welcome in to the final box seat of season 17-18, and of course the harness jewels will be our major focus here. Michael Guerin, another magnificent day of 9 Group 1s at the jewels at Cambridge, and gee, there's got to be a lot of credit given to the club. A very good evening to you.
Evening to you, big hi to everybody. Hope you enjoyed the day. It was fast and furious, wasn't it? It's a different day from New Zealand Cup Day, which is our biggest day, because it's a build-up day, much like Melbourne Cup Day, where you are peaking towards the big race with a couple of really good highlights in between. But the Jewels just starts and it's like, wow, bang, it's all over and done with. I think everybody could leave there happy, and we'll talk later on about the exact specifics of the crowd and the day, but punters should feel good. Most of the favoured runners tended to get home. The All-Stars dominated again, but most importantly, I'm absolutely certain, Greg, that Cambridge have solidified their bid and hosting rights for 2020. It'd be extremely hard to move from Cambridge to Alexandra Park for that period, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, turnover-wise was pretty comparable to 2016 and, of course, 2017 at Ashburton. Less horses started. 9 came out as a result of them going from 13 to 12, and there were 2 or 3 other scratchings. So I think that was a fair reflection of how well the day went.
And more importantly, I think the Jewels had fallen behind other major meetings, and the most obvious one is the Karaka Million meeting or New Zealand Cup time at Addington. They're our 2 major meetings, along with maybe Boxing Day at Ellerslie. And we had fallen behind in the standard of class with facilities, and if people were going to travel from Australia or Invercargill or Timaru and these places and spend their money to come and own horses and pay for those horses at the sales, Greg, I believe you've got to give them a level where they feel like they're going to a special event, and I think the Jewels was in danger of not becoming that. And it's a little bit harder in winter, for sure. It's harder for the ladies to get dressed up and put the fascinators on when it's freezing cold. But I think what David Branch and his team at Cambridge did was provide a level of facilities and marquees and different rooms and different people that made it feel like an event. And I think that's what racing's future is. It's about making the racing on the track will take care of itself, but making racing an event. And I think far more than any Jewels I've been to in the last 5 years, after the novelty of the first ones wore off, you felt like you were at an event the other day. I still personally believe I would have liked to have seen an extra 1,000 people there, but you can only put the event on. And I do believe, Greg, we'll discuss this later, I know you have a very stern opinion on this, that once that wind chill comes in, it's really hard for people to bring their families along, or the males watching this show, your wife or partner may not want to come along when it gets a bit colder because of the fashion part of it. So I think that's something worth discussing, but that would be the only negative on a day full of positives.
There were some great options for people on track, and I know the people that spent some time in the Mum Champagne Marquee had a great time. They said the level of the standard of food and beverage available and the like was just outstanding, and what it should be for a major event like that. Let's have a look at some other stats out of the day. Quickest time was She's All Right. Well, she was awesome. We'll get a chance to have a look through each of the jewels. Princess Tiffany set the day alight with a sensational performance. Barriers 1 and 5, couple each. In fact, barrier 5 is the winningest position at the Cambridge Harness Jewels. It got to 10, and we'll talk more about that as the day rolls on. Shortest price favourite, longest was Utmost Delight, and no New Zealand records, but heaps of very good times. We're going to go through each and every jewel, and we start off with the Emeralds, and the 4-year-old is the first of those. And this was a deep race, Michael Guerin, because it had 3 horses all in the market. Here's the gate rolling here. AG's White Sox is one of those. He had the best of the barriers. Directly behind him, Eamon Maguire, and of course Star Galleria, as predicted, to drop in behind Eamon Maguire at the start. Tiger Thompson launched off the gate, as did Northview Hustler, so the speed was hot in the first quarter of 26 and 4.
And the speed maps for most of the day, and most people's opinions on the speed maps are relatively the same, actually panned out as we thought they might. The key factor here is obviously Northview Hustler decides to hold out AG's White Sox, who, had he run to the front, the complexion of this race changes in many, many different ways. Then hands to Tiger Thompson, and all day there weren't true handing overs. Most of them were horses who just belligerently kept on going, and that was good to see. So there's the big 3, and they've been the big 3 for quite a while, through the Taylor Mile, through the Easter Cup, through the Messenger. AG's White Sox was stuffed from here. He could not win this race.
Not with
from
those
here.
two horses
No,
directly
exactly
behind.
right. He had the wrong stalkers following him, and then the game of cat and mouse started because Ricky can't put too much pressure into the race in the harness Jules colours because then he undoes himself. Eamon Maguire and Natalie, she sits there knowing she's probably going to get AG's White Sox speed, but she also knows if she moves too early, Zach Butcher, who's directly behind her, and she watch her you'll see her shortly, she turns around and has a look for him. She knows that he's there and she doesn't want to move too early to drag him into the race. What this became was Natalie looking to pull out late enough that she could sprint past them but give Star Galleria no chance to sprint past her. Here is how the 4-year-old Emerald unfolded.
Thompson, AG's White Sox. Eamon Maguire's out of the 1-1. Star Galleria's tracked him every stride. He's about to come out now. Star Galleria homeward bound. Tiger Thompson, AG's White Sox. Eamon Maguire, Star Galleria on the inside. Northview Hustler. Eamon Maguire sent for home in the Emerald from on the inside. AG's White Sox. Star Galleria, the last run at Eamon Maguire, but Eamon Maguire's too good. Eamon Maguire gives All Stars 22 dual successes now. Second over was Star Galleria.
Yes, a terrific tactical battle there, wasn't it, Michael? And Natalie had the advantage from where she was drawn, and like you say, map-wise, it couldn't have worked out any truer, could it?
I think another 100 metres, Star Galleria beats him. Eamon Maguire's very, very good, and I think he's quite mentally immature, and I think this campaign will help him, Greg, but he does seem to pull up near the line.
I'm not too sure about him in a real dogfight yet.
And Star Galleria rushed at him, and the margin was actually half a length, but gee, it was a diminishing half a length. So, look, beautiful drive by Natalie. Look, she probably didn't need to make too many decisions apart from when to pull out. Zach couldn't have done more than he did. If he tried to flush her, he only would have got pushed wider on the track. So there she's looking around again. She's looking for him. She wants to know where he is. Then she goes, OK, I'm out of here. Let's see if you can catch me. Had this race been 100 metres longer, he would have caught her. But had it been 100 metres longer, she probably would have taken off a bit later. This horse has come a long, long way in a relatively short time. It was a brave decision by Graham Anderson.
Smart, though. Did it with Titan Banner as well.
Well, it's a business decision, Greg. He treated it like a business. So the three of these horses aren't Vincent, who would have started favourite in this race and who will win 4-year-old of the year. They're not him.
I was going to ask you that, so that's pretty clear cut.
Oh, no doubts.
He won the Auckland Cup.
He won the Auckland Cup and he thrashed Star Galleria in the Futurity. But they're not him. But in many ways, that's a good thing because they can match up over a variety of distances over the next year or 2 years if they're not sold. And every time they line up, you'll go, well, I'm not quite sure. It was pretty much each of three around $3.20 for this race. This horse bounced in late to about $2.40, $2.50, but I thought it was a very competitive, good. It was an example of what Jules racing should be, Gregory.
Win number 11, start 24, and close to $250,000 for Eamon Maguire. Let's hear from...
Before we do, I want to hear your opinion. Is he a New Zealand Cup horse?
Yes, he is. Yep, absolutely.
Is he a New Zealand Cup winning potential horse?
With the right run, but like I said before, I'm not convinced when he gets in a dog fight whether he's got the dog yet. I'm not saying he won't have it, but he's very good. And you got to remember, he's already gone 356 in winter, leading them up and pulling very hard. So I think he'll have a part to play in it for sure. And you've also got to factor in he's with the All-Stars now all the way through, I understand. So that'll be interesting. Whether he'll go back to Graham's, have a bit of time there and then get there.
So you think they'll train him for the Cup?
I have no doubt, because twice in interviews after the race, Natalie said you're not getting him back. And I don't think Graham would argue the way things are going.
I'll believe you.
Let's hear from the beaten team.
Well, Cam, what's the word post-race on Star Galleria?
You know, look, Matt, he raced terrific and he's pulled up awesome. It was one of those races. Zach had to do what he did, but if you reverse the draws, you're more than likely to reverse the result, but that's just racing.
What's the plan now?
Well, Stephen's going to sit down and talk to the owners and discuss a trip to Queensland. You know, he's got the Blacks of Fake, Johnny Be Good and 4-year-old 5 championship there. And if not, he'll just stay home, have a bit of a quiet time with it for a month or so and then just focus on the road to the New Zealand Cup.
Well, Rick, AG's White Sox, talk me through his efforts out there today.
Oh, he went great, really. If the one horse that only handed up to me, I'm sure he would have been hard to beat. But the way the race panned out, sitting park with the two favourites on my back, it was always going to be hard for him. So I couldn't be more happy the way he went.
Right, is the plan now paddock and then second Tuesday of November?
I think that is the plan. It just depends how he comes back, I suppose.
Another game performance from a green runner, Andre?
Yeah, no, he went good. Just around that first bend, he just knuckled over a little bit there and he almost galloped, almost lost him, but he recovered good. But then afterwards, around that bend, he started putting in a couple more short strides. I felt like he would have held Tiger Thompson out. But yeah, in that case, I just thought to take a trail then. He wasn't happy, so but look, he's kicked on good for fifth, so we're happy.
Yeah, I think major players there were all pretty happy with their performances and they can all go for a nice break. Spoke to Greg Hope yesterday about AG's White Sox. He said he's had a great season. He's just been tremendous in his last 8 or 9 starts and they've got a lot of confidence going forward because he's relatively inexperienced still too. How many starts has he had? He's only had 26 career starts.
He's won an Easter Cup. And the Easter Cup winner almost always goes on to be a New Zealand Cup contender. Northview Hustler's an interesting horse. He's got no glamour buzz about him at all, but he reminds me of Captain Dolmio, who this time last year was a hard-running type of horse. Those horses are important in the industry. You need them. Same as Tiger Thompson. You need those gate flyers, otherwise it becomes a bit boring. So look, I think it's a crop where, yes, Vincent, we lost the best of the horses, and the next best, I think, is Ultimate Machete. But there's enough speed about Eamon Maguire and Star Galleria that I reckon, and under the right circumstances, maybe they could sling a shot an Ultimate Machete, or at least give you the thought they could anyway. So interesting 4-year-old crop heading forward, considering some of the names, like More the Better as well, who have lost along the way. It's almost like the All Blacks. We seem to lose players and they go overseas.
But then another step up.
Exactly, another step up, and you go, where do we keep finding all these things?
Yep.
And thank God we do.
3-year-old Emerald was always going to be a classic encounter. Again, we had 3 horses well in the market here. Gate was set to roll and plenty of speed from 1, 2 and 3, Michael.
Again, and that was the case all day. Basically, the horses on the inside weren't willing to just give the lead away. They said you have to work for a little bit. Reverse the barrier draws here and Sheriff gets the lead off Solid Gold, and that's probably the winning of the race. But Pat's Delight had the right barrier draw for Dexter to dictate what he wanted to do. I think he would have been quite comfortable staying in front, but he also knew that Sheriff would get him there. So our 2 leading reinsmen have a mini battle here, then Dexter handed up. And after that, Greg, once this happened, the next key component was John Dunn's rightful decision, because he was right, to not hand up the parked on Alta Maestro to Sicario. He hands up to Sicario. Here's Alta Maestro coming 3 wide as Sheriff rolls to the lead. Alta Maestro here, I thought he'll probably hand up to Sicario, but if he did, he wouldn't have beaten Sicario home. As it was, he did beat Sicario home. So while if you were on Sicario, you're filthy at this moment, John did exactly the right thing. So Sheriff in front, he just gets enough pressure here, not pressure, but just enough annoyance that I think this was maybe the undoing of him.
Well, Mark knew, probably 200 metres earlier, right, I'm not going to get to park here, so pouring it on means that I'm definitely out of play for the top 3, 4 or 5, so I better just make sure I sit up here, and that's what he effectively did. But when you've got the quality of Sheriff in front and Pat's Delight in the trail, to a lesser extent Solid Gold, he had virtually no winning chance. In fact, he didn't have a top 3 chance either. Let's bring them home in the 3-year-old Emerald.
And Sheriff Blair Orange very confident coming to the turn here. Sheriff from Pat's Delight off its back and Sicario out wider. Sheriff Pat's Delight comes to challenge hard now. Sheriff and Pat's Delight by 3 from Sicario. Pat's Delight 75 to go. And Dexter Dunn drives him away. Pat's Delight is a well-deserved Group 1 success. He's got the 3-year-old Emerald. And what a way for Double D to leave New Zealand to go to America with a Jules winner.
Listen to the roar of the boys get paid lads on track. They were having a mighty time. The incredible thing here was, Michael, both Blair Orange and Dexter Dunn couldn't pull their charges up. There they are, the boys going off, double D, and yeah, they couldn't pull their charges up. Have a look at them, 2 really top-line 3-year-olds this. So they decided to go all the way around, and
which is what they do at Gloucester Park.
Yeah.
They often do that, and you know, the horse has got a head of steam up. Why pull on the reins? Why not let them jog around? So
look at Dexter telling Blair exactly how he's beaten him. It was good humour, wasn't it?
And saying you might have got the premiership, but I got the last one on Jules. They won Jewel each for those 2 young gentlemen. I don't think Pat's Delight's as good as Sheriff, and I think he has a more limited future. He doesn't I think he's a really good horse, and I think Cran did an excellent job in the last 6 weeks to get him from the Derby to winning the Jewels. He gave him a couple of quiet runs. They didn't knock him around, and he got there looking fresh and happy. And you can see that here. He's absolutely bolting. By the way, here's
you saw Mark Purdon looking down at
David
his
Butcher
wheel.
contacted the sulky wheel of Mark Purdon there, which can happen when you're coming out of one spot trying to get wider on the track. So Dex drove this inch perfectly. I'm absolutely convinced, as I was last week, that Sheriff was at least half a length below his best.
Are you serious? I mean, he beat him purely for speed there, Pat's Delight, because Sheriff kept going the same speed.
If somebody told you a month ago Solid Gold would run Sheriff to a neck, you would have laughed.
Maybe, but it's Cambridge
said,
and the passing lane is absolute gold.
There's nothing I'd seen in the last month that suggested to me Sheriff was at his peak. I think Nigel was like a lot of trainers. He had to make a decision, and he made the
Do
right...
you think at his peak he would have beaten Pat's Delight
Absolutely no doubts. He's,
Okay.
he's a better horse than Pat's Delight. And that's... I copped a lot of abuse for what I said about it last week, and you've got to make a stand.
If he was tired, there's no chance he could have run second in 152.
Oh, he's a 150 horse.
Okay.
He's a genuine New Zealand Cup horse, Sheriff.
Yeah, but he is. But if he was really tired, he couldn't run 152
I think there's
at the
a lot
end of
of
the season.
I don't think he's tired. I just think he's half length down on what he is.
Yeah.
And it's no different to AG's White Sox, Better Joy. I think there's a lot of horses there the other day. Probably half of them were half a length or a length down on their best. The key factor was between when he got beaten in the Derby and when he won that race the other day, Cran and Dexter gave Pat's Delight 2 quiet runs. They wanted to win the races, but they gave him runs where he hit the line feeling happy and full of himself. The one run Sheriff had, he didn't hit the line full of himself. He was going backwards at the line, and that's harder on a horse. And the Jewels come at a difficult time of the season for a lot of people, which is why Lazarus hasn't started in the last 2 Jewels, because it's too late for them. But it's 150k, and you have to go. If you've got
For the Derby, it's 7 weeks.
and that's a long
after.
time to keep them going. And I think we saw that with a couple of other horses the other day. So out of that race, I think Sheriff will be the best horse. Long term, I think Sicario's a very good horse who ended up in the wrong part of the track. But there's enough speed in those horses, Alta Maestro being one of them, where again, we're seeing competitive racing. And I'm really happy for Frank Cooney and Tate Hopkins, because Solid Gold gets a Group 1 placing and gives them a horse they can say next season, we can set this for a Franklin Cup and for those good 4-year-old races. A lot of people would have left the track after that race, Greg, I think feeling pretty positive.
Yeah, I agree. Next week in this time slot, we will have the entire Jewels races with the aftermath, but let's hear from the Beaten Brigade from the 3-year-old Emerald.
Well, Blair, fair to say he's capped off a really good season with a good effort today.
Yeah, for sure, Matty. He's never let us down all year. Every race he's been in, it's been a good dogfight, and he's given it all. And today's no different. He's run a very brave race for second, mate.
James, another horse we've seen today cap off a good season with a really good effort today.
Yeah, well, he's really backed up good from Auckland. It improved him, and we held up early, really easy. And I reckon if I sat in the trail, I'm not saying I would have won it, but I would have given him a decent fright. He really found the line really good.
Does he feel as though he's a horse who will come back at 4 and be a lot stronger and keep on improving?
Yeah, I think he will. You hit the nail right on the head there. I think, he's just going to get stronger because he's quite a big horse for Better Delight, and he's improved every time he's come back in.
What did you make of his efforts, RJ?
Well, we're pleased with him really, Matt, because he obviously couldn't cross, and he's the kind of horse we don't light up anymore on purpose just to try and keep him relaxed. So therefore, 2 horses of superior gate speed, or has got a gate speed inside of it, has made it awkward. And then he's parked the journey, and Johnny was quite out. I thought the way he fought on was good. Last year he wouldn't have done that if he didn't get in front and do his own thing. So we're getting there slowly with him.
What are your plans with him now, Robert?
Well, I think, look, he's had an up and down season because he had that wind up and been gelded. I think we'll probably call it quits for the season, have him and let him furnish and come back as a 4-year-old. I think he'll come back a real nice racehorse.
Mark from the second row draw, what did you make of it?
Got caught wide for all the way, Matt, so just the being out there for that entire distance just took its toll. They're happy with the way the horse went, but just needed a front row draw probably to take advantage of his gate speed.
Out of your 3-year-olds here in the last race, is there any that we can expect to press on?
Probably not. We'll evaluate things more tomorrow, but I'd say most of them will go out for a break.
Had a good chat to Nigel McGrath last night about Sheriff and put the obvious question to him, will he go forward to the New Zealand Cup? He said, look, he'll nominate him. He said, it'll be a late campaign in terms of He'll have Madash Burton probably, maybe one other run. Then he'll make a decision on whether he goes in the Cup and or the free-for-all or just the free-for-all. So he's going to leave it as late as he possibly can.
I think a lot of campaigns are going to be like that.
Yeah.
I think the days of people rocking up in late August and middle of September are almost gone. Not for everybody, but...
He might have another Cup contender.
Yeah, that's. I was looking for the fields for Alexandra Park on Friday night. I forgot. It's a terrible thing to say. I forgot Classy Brigade was alive, and Classy Brigade, who hasn't raced for like 13 or 14 months, is at Alexandra Park. So
he's had a long, slow build-up.
What's he doing at Alexandra Park?
Well, he's ready to go. But
is there no other races down home?
Queensland campaign potentially for him. So he'll.
So does he expect him to
win?
He'll
race. Look, he thinks he's as fit as you can get him without having had a race.
Because he's up against Buster Brady,
yeah,
one of your old mates. I thought Buster Brady.
He thinks he can win, but he said whatever he does, clearly he will improve. So
who's the best horse in that crop?
Sheriff.
I agree. I think Sicario is a horse you might see more of, unless they probably sell him because they sell most of them.
I mean, Sheriff's winning the Derby will forever be etched in my memory as one of the best 3-year-old performances I've seen. That was unreal, time-wise and how hard he had to work in the run.
Okay, but I think Chase Auckland still wins 3-year-old of the year.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yep, no doubt.
I think Pat's Delight is a horse who might end up being a very good short course horse, and for that reason, with the market to America opening up, I'm not sure what the sellers, I don't know, the people own it. But also that Menangle type stuff. He's a horse I think you could set for Chariots of Fire type races. I don't envisage him being a 2-mile standing start horse.
Michael, if Sheriff had won on Saturday, would it have been closer between him and Chase Auckland?
It shouldn't have been.
But it probably would have been the old
people who vote for the horse of the year,
the
Harness Jewels and what happens New Zealand Cup, they are the two big things because they watch them all. But Chase Auckland has to win 3-year-old.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
I think.
Let's go to the 2-year-old Emerald to complete the Emerald review. And this one, of course, was race 6 on the card. Inside draw, Pete's Big Jim. Plenty of early speed from it, but no more speed than from another masterpiece who got off the machine so quickly, as we'd seen at Addington Raceway once he worked to the lead. 26.5 is a very quick opening quarter, though.
What I liked here, and it's a 2-horse war, and Lauren Tritton really pulls out of these 2-horse wars, is Tim Williams, who I've been critical in the past that sometimes Tim has underdriven his horses for what they are, because he's quite a gentleman sort of guy. He's not a rough and tumble sort of guy. He went out there and just said, get out of the way. And this was a really mature, aggressive drive. So well done to Tim, taking the race by the scruff of the neck. Where the problem comes here is Jesse Duke. Wants to get to the park, wants to be outside the leader and stablemate and potentially beat him. But he's working here, Gregory. He's working 3
really hard.
Exactly. Yeah. And that cost him any chance. At the stage of the race, I thought, well, Jesse Duke can't win. He can't win, but he'll go super. And that's pretty much how it panned out. And that's good aggressive driving. David Butcher's got the right to pit his horse where he wants to pit his horse. He doesn't just have to hand things to Mark Purdon because Mark's the king. So here you have another masterpiece in front. And if you could bet at the stage, you could not get enough on another masterpiece. What probably surprised people the most is the fact that Pete's Big Jim, after the underperforming of Platinum Revolution in the first, performed really well and made it interesting up the home straight. Here's the final stages of the last major juvenile race of the season.
Australians planted right in behind Pete's Big Jim. They come for home now. Another masterpiece, Jesse Duke. Pete's Big Jim on the passing lane and getting out and looking to run home as Make Way. Another masterpiece, Jesse Duke. Make Way down the outside. Jesse Duke, another masterpiece, lifting hard, another masterpiece. He'll get the win. Another masterpiece. It's very tight second. Jesse Duke and Pete's Big Jim Make Way for 4th. They were followed Wardan Delight. Further back in the field to a Major Express, they were followed by...
As I commented to Tim Williams on the day, Michael Guerin, that performance there secured him 2-year-old of the year, and I think he thoroughly deserves to get that title.
Very consistent, hasn't gone a bad race. As I said, Tim's drive was beautiful. In some ways, it was one of the best drives of the day, because had he pulled out of that early rush with Lauren Tritton, who can be quite an intimidating young lady, he loses the race. If you back this horse, Tim Williams has won you this race because he said he's been in the mood he needs to get in on these good All-Stars horses. And you can't overdrive them all. But he just said, I'm going to keep going here. Gee, it was good. and that meant the whole composition of the race to change. Jesse Duke was excellent. Pete's Big Jim, who was laughed at by some people, was excellent, I thought, in running second. Hey, the barrier draw helped. War Dandelight had no real luck, and I thought that Make Way did a solid enough job. I agree with you. Another Masterpiece will now win 2-year-old of the season because he has a superior record to Jesse Duke. Had a long talk to Mark Purdon on Monday. Him and Natalie sat down with a piece of paper and said, who goes, who doesn't go to the Breeders' Crown? Remarkably, they're not taking any 2-year-old boys to the Breeders' Crown. So both of these horses, all of their 2-year-olds, pretty much go to the paddock. So the season's over for them.
That's got to be good for the Sire Stakes, though.
That's exactly what it is. It's the gap between the Breeders' Crown August 25 and the Sire Stakes, where you've got to be up and racing by late October. It's 2 months. And King of Swing did it last year, but very few horses do it with any success. So they said, we are heading to the paddock with these horses. Who ends up the best of them? I just don't know. There's a lot of derby about this horse. There's a lot of derby about Jesse Duke. And there's enough to like about Ray Green's 2-year-olds and a bunch of other ones. And Barry Purdon's got 2 very good ones. Only one of them was there the other day. I can see this being a really juicy 3-year-old crop to play with. And I don't think virtually any of them will go to the Crown, Greg, in which case that Sire Stakes could be one of the deeper Sire Stakes we've had for a while.
Gate 5, 10th win at Cambridge out of that barrier. So middle of the front row. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. No, I think that it's a gate where you can get a head of steam up and you can charge, and there's some of the big name owners of this horse, including a whole bunch of people. You hear their names all the time on these shows. But I think Gate 5's a gate which is close enough to the inside. You can get a head of steam up. I think 6, 7 and 8 get too wide on the track, and we saw that for the remainder of the day. We didn't see horses coming across from that wide out. Gate 5, as we saw with Tiger Thompson as well, it's close enough you can get involved, particularly if one horse pulls out inside you. Whereas Alta Maestro was Gate 4, all 3 went forward, and there was nothing John Dunn could do.
The Beaten Brigade is headed up by Shane Tritton after the terrific performance from Pete's Big Jim.
Did he run to your expectations, Shane?
Oh, look, mate, we're extremely proud. You know, I sort of wanted this more for the owner and even the people at New Zealand here that sort of put their head on the chopping block to get him here. So, to be honest, he's stood up and said, I'm here, and he's just a lovely trying horse, and it was super drive. She didn't stick to the plan. She went to plan B, and it paid off for her.
Where to for him now?
Oh, there's a lot of things that I think he's a Vic bred, we just found out, so we might end up going there, but we've only had him a short time, but gee, we like him, and on what he's done there, sky's the limit probably.
Mark, what did you make of his efforts out there today?
I thought his effort was fantastic. Just got caught wide early and went to go forward, and David Church went with me, and just had to work that a little bit too hard, and probably cost him a little bit in the finish.
He's had a pretty decent season, Mark, out of him and the remainder of your 2-year-olds in this race. Can we expect to see any of them press on to, say, a Breeders' Crown?
Look, I'd say another Masterpiece. He's thrived through the season. It hasn't been overtaxing from him, so he'd probably be the ideal candidate to go forward for that.
Run out of its skin, Andre.
Yeah, no, he went massive actually. He lost a little bit of ground around that final bend, just went for a bit of a skip. But yeah, if he didn't do that, he would have been I thought he would have run a place. But it's a massive run from him. And yeah, he's only going to get better with time.
So that wraps up the Emerald section of the 2018 Harness Jewels. We're about to take a break here on your box seat. When we come back, it'll be all about diamonds. It is the ladies' time here on the review of course, the Harness Jewels of 2018. So let's go to the 4-year-old Diamond. And when the barrier draw fell for this race, it just opened it up. Let's face it, Michael, if Utmost Delight had drawn 1 to 5, she probably would have gone round flip of the coin. Her drawing where she did meant that it opened it up for a few others.
And Ricky May moved at exactly the right time you need to move in a mile race. If you're drawing the second line, you have to move between the 12 and the 8. If you don't, you're stuffed. So they burn here early, as they have every right to do. Nicola Chilcott said she will burn early, and she did, and James Stormont had every right to hold her out. They've gone quick enough here.
26.5.
There's the 1200 metre mark, and then they start to move. And first of all, you have Party On come forward, and then all of a sudden you have Delishka coming forward, and Ricky's moved at exactly the right time. You leave this one horse later, and you're stuck behind Better Heart, and you're on the wrong part of the track. This was as perfect as you can drive a mile race at Cambridge with the best horse drawn the second line. So now he's outside Party On, who I don't believe was at her peak. I think they had enough setbacks that she wasn't at her peak. And Delishka's in the 1-1, but
26.5, 3, then 4 wide. Yep. That was going to take its toll at some stage.
And the horse is 3 wide. Well, unfortunately for Dexter, who drove a beauty on Bonnie Joan, he just ends up behind a horse who's not going to get him there, because you need to be, the horse outside, Utmost Delight, needed to be up to it to give Dexter any chance. So the horses in the 3 wide train are all gone. Utmost Delight's worked hard. It sat parked outside a multiple Group 1 winner, and here's what she did.
Passing lane is Jews Brogden, out wide of Bonnie Joan, homeward bound. Utmost Delight goes to Party On, 2 lengths Delishka, Bonnie Joan down the outside. Utmost Delight goes to the lead. Delishka's off her back now. Here comes Delishka after Utmost Delight. Utmost Delight, Delishka to fight out the 4-year-old Diamond. Utmost Delight, wonderful win. Utmost Delight, Delishka, Sea Swift Joy for third, then Opotama. They were followed by Party On.
Yeah, brilliant drive from Ricky May. He was confident going into it. Stephen Reid very confident, and so they should have been. She's now a dual Group 1 winner in the same season, won the Breeders and now won the Jewels.
It's easy to look at that and go, was it a strong field? Delishka's a sub 150 horse. And here's some cool vision of Utmost Delight and the decisions Ricky had to make. And look, I suppose you could say he ended up in the right place, but good horsemen tend to end up in the right place more than they end up in the bad place. She's beaten Party On, who's won at least 3 Group 1s I can think of, including 2 Oaks races.
And 650,000.
And a former Jewels. She's beaten a horse in Delishka who ran at her very hard, and I thought was going to win at the 150, but she had her chance, and she is a sub 150 horse. And then your horse like Oputama has been good enough to race in semi-open class races at the park. There's enough depth about this race that for Utmost Delight to give them a start and a beating would suggest to me, Greg, she's going to win a good mares race. Now, I spoke to Stephen Reid, who was over the moon, and as he should be. Stephen's got a small team. He almost won 2 Jewels races. He said, look, I hope we stick to the mares races. I don't see her going to a New Zealand Cup, and I don't want her to go to a New Zealand Cup. She could race 12 times next season and never take on the boys. She could race 12 times, Australasian wide, 6 of them at Group 1 level, and never take the boys on. That's what I'd do. And then the following season you have the option. Interesting one for people who go to the yearling sales. This horse, of course, bred by Charlie Roberts, and Charles wasn't there, and we're thrilled for him. This is the 13th foal of Victor Supreme, the flawed but brilliant mare who ran second, later disqualified from an Inter-Dominion. A lot of people hate buying foals from older mares, so she wouldn't have retired. There's the Reed man giving Ricky a kiss. It's
2 rarities there, trying to give Ricky a kiss and wearing a tie.
Yes. So if she retired when she was 6 Victor Supreme, which sounds about right to me because she ran second in 2 Auckland Cups, and she's the 13th foal, Victor Supreme must have been 20 when this foal was born.
Basically hadn't left a lot, let's be fair.
A lot of people hate buying foals from older mares. This thing here has won 2 Group 1s a season. That Better's Delight blood's kicked in. She's got better as she's got older. It's good that the Victor Supreme story now continues because she's one of the more enigmatic horses we've ever had. It took Chokin to beat her in an Auckland Cup and Golden Rain to beat her in Inter-Dominion. She ran into some roadblocks.
Great effort by Brad Mowbray, as we see there. He's been placed in the last 2 editions of this section, but to keep her going that long, I mean, her season could have been stuffed. When she came back from the ladyship, drew 8 at Alexandra Park, had to sit parked and looked tired, but he resurrected it, got her to peak on the day, and yeah, I thought her run had a lot of merit.
Brad cut his teeth travelling a lot with changeover, I think it was, and those trainers who learn to travel horses, it's a valuable skill to have, because if you can't travel them, you have some problems. She's been from Roxburgh to Melbourne to Sydney to Auckland to Cambridge, and she could retire tomorrow, and she's had a fantastic life. I think she's heading to the States.
Yeah,
she's going to the States. I hope they buy her back. When those mares go there, I'd love to see her come back to Lishka.
Let's hear from winning trainer Stephen Reid, and then from those that finished in behind Utmost Delight.
Well, Stephen, pressure's off now.
Absolutely, Matt. Coming up to Star Galleria. Look, I thought she needed a little bit of luck today, and I was hopeful that she wouldn't need luck. And as it's proven, she didn't need any luck. I thought the run was absolutely top notch.
Yeah, what were you thinking during the run when you got up so handy?
I was a little bit nervous when I heard the 27 quarter down the back, but you know what? Ricky knows what he's doing. He knows her, and I think that he actually even said that she knocked off halfway down. So I think it's testimony to what a good mare she actually is. And yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to the future with her.
It's been a long enough preparation for her. What's been the key to getting her to the peak?
What has been the key?
What's been the key to it?
I think definitely time. And the other thing I've got to do is I've got to give a big shout out to Paula Mary Kenny, because I tell you what they've always done. They've always allowed me to turn her out. She'd come up, week and off, turn her out, come up, week and off. You know, she's rising 5. She hasn't had a lot of racing. She was just weak early on, but you know, when she was good, she always showed real good ability. And I think now that because they've allowed me to give her that time, I think now they're going to reap the rewards.
What's ahead for her now?
Well, I'll have to have a talk to them, because they do like to be included in it, even to the point that we were going to go to, we were thinking about going to Victoria for the Queen of the Pacific, and they said no, they said focus on this. So I'll have a talk to them. The New Zealand Cup may be an option, but then, you know, the thing is, Matt, when you've got races like the Queen of Hearts and the Ladyship and those, do you just target those mares races? It's going to be something that we'll probably just have to sit down and talk about.
How good?
Real good.
Maddie, talk me through the race.
It was a bit ugly the first half of it. She did plenty of work. Mark just managed to get inside us early, which probably cost us maybe winning the race, but you know, got cover on Ricky, which was great, and no, she's gone super and just gone down.
James, what did you make of her efforts?
Yeah, really good effort. We burnt up hard early and then got put 3 back. If I could have stayed, or if I stayed in front, we might have got nothing, but no, she went super. Didn't get clear daylight up the straight, but yeah, went super. Most probably her last race in New Zealand, so yeah, she went good.
Zach, tell me about the run you got in transit.
Hey, look, she got a super run through from the second line. Sort of ended up 1 out 3 back following the 2 horses that run first and second. So, look, she had every opportunity. She's had a big long season and she's found the line pretty good. 4th's probably a good result for her. Would have been nice to sneak that 3rd, but you know, you can't be disappointed in what she's done, and here just wrap with her.
I'm sure you didn't expect it to unfold like that, Mark.
No, I didn't before the race, but she had a chance, but probably just the lack of racing over in Australia since she got sick just took its toll.
All right, is there anything left in the tank with Party On?
No, she goes to the broodmare paddock now.
Yeah, so a great addition there of the 4-year-old section.
I've got a question for you. After that, does she win 4-year-old Mare of the Year? She's won 2 Group 1s.
Yes. Yes.
See, so all of a sudden she's worth a stack of money. So.
She has to. There's no real... I mean, Delishka had a great season.
Had Delishka won it, she would have won it. So
yeah,
you know, it's funny. 150,000 is big money, but it's not life-changing money for most people, particularly for Charles Roberts. But a win like that and winning Mare of the Year, which is in the sales catalogues for next generations and generations afterwards, it's amazing how much is on the line in that last 150
Well, we've already
metres
seen
of those
it in a
races.
couple of editions of the Jules races we've seen today. It's been defining in terms of who wins that category. The 2-year-old, obviously.
The next 2 races we're about to show you were 2 of the more crushing wins I have seen by female pacers in this country.
Oh, this was an outstanding run. Again, barrier 5, so it was to the 4 here, and Very short price favourite she was. She's backed into about $1.23. She's in the green colours there, of course, the Australian representative, and Mark Purdon set things alight early. As predictably, Orange dropped straight to the trail. The defending champion, Dizzy Miss Lizzie, raced right up to her best form and beat the others just as easily. But Mark Purdon ran and just kept on running here. Broke 152, 27.6, 28.9, 27.9 home and 27.3. She is all class.
Extremely good filly, and let's not forget she's not in her homeland. She's turned up here and adapted extremely quickly. The key factor is she is in front and freewheeling and is going to win this race. It's just a margin job from here. More importantly, the margin is going to be large because Ellie Mack, who's clearly the second best horse in this race, is 3 wide, and she's 3 wide with cover, but you're losing out there 3 lengths, maybe more per bend. So you're giving a very, very good filly, potentially a champion filly. You're giving her 6 lengths by the time you've gone round these 2 bends. The first bend doesn't matter, but the last 2 bends do. Ellie Mack couldn't win this a mile from home. She was very brave. Blair was exactly right in what he did on Dizzy Miss Lizzie. He handed up to the right horse.
And Brett Mangos for that matter, because he's dropped to 3 the fence,
Mango's
hasn't
drive
rushed
was beautiful.
early. He is.
He didn't make a fool of himself and try and keep everybody out. Had Mark Purdon let her go here, and had he rubbed the reins across her rump, I reckon she would have won this by 8 or 10 lengths. She was absolutely bolting. Here's what she did do, and Greg, it's in the ballpark for performance of the day, but we've got a couple of pretty special ones to show you too.
Dizzy Miss Lizzie, Ruby Star, Better Joy, Ellie Mack, but she's all rock. The Australians, they're going to strike diamonds in New Zealand. She's all rock, and she'll clinically extricate a diamond out of New Zealand in 151.9, just outside the New Zealand record. Second was
She's 9 from 10 now and almost $450,000. Her 2 performances in New Zealand. Now, here's a good question. Does that get her 3-year-old filly of the year? Because the qualifying mark is you have to start twice. She started in 2 Group 1s and won them both.
I'm going to vote for her. I am. And you know what? She actually may have another start. Because she might.
Now, I understand she's not.
It's a complicated story.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, then we'll get back to the horse of the year thing. So she's actually headed to Matamata Veterinary Clinic for scintigraphy, which is when they basically had the bone scans and make sure that everything's all right. Mark is sure something's wrong with her. Something's annoying her.
Which is quite remarkable the way she's gone, but yeah.
But she looks irritated. She looks up on the steel, and he said in the work she was the same. We saw her gallop in the home straight in the Oak. So
well, I was there for her final jog the day before, and he said she had pulled her block off the whole way around. So yeah, I concur.
And she's a rock and roll heaven. There's maybe
and they get a bit hot.
Yeah. But anyway, he thinks there's something wrong with her. So both her and Enhance Your Calm will go for scintigraphy this week at Matamata. Now, that means the Vic bred, where she was going to go home to former trainer Mark Pitt, is now out of play. So that's gone, which means she's going to go to the Breeders' Crown. So she might actually start in a heat of the Breeders' Crown here
in New Zealand. Yeah.
So she might actually end up having 3 starts. That's terrible news for anybody else who wants to go to the Breeders' Crown. So she is going to go to the Breeders as long as the scintigraphy suggests there's nothing wrong with her. That would also suggest Ellie Mack won't go. Reverse that script. If there is something wrong with her, then I suggest she probably goes for a spell, and Ellie Mack would very much come into play for the Breeders' Crown. She's a wonderful filly. I think she's flat out better than Ellie Mack. I honestly don't believe this is a great crop. I think they are 2 exceptionally good fillies, and Better Joy's a good filly, but I do think that this is not a crop as deep as some of the others we have seen. Aaron White's commentary was excellent. He captured the moment of the first Australian victory in the Jewels appropriately and kept it for what it was, an Australian moment. You get the feeling Chris Ryder, the owner of this horse, might change his mind a couple of times in the next 6 months, Greg. And one of those changes of mind might be that this filly might stay in New Zealand a lot longer than people think, I think.
Well, she's outstanding, and at this stage, looking at what she's achieved in the 2 runs here, if she does stay here, there's a possibility Taylor Mile Messenger towards the back end and another stint at the Jewels.
4-year-old Jewels, Ladyship Mile, $200,000 at Menanga, where she'd break 150. Jogging, if she comes back. Queen of Hearts at Alexandra Park.
There's a lot of options there.
New Zealand Breeders' Stakes. She's still Vic Bred eligible for the 4-year-olds next season and the Breeders' Crown next season. Why would you take her to America? Now, as a 5-year-old, you might take her to America because then she doesn't have to race the boys anymore.
Yes.
She can only race the mares.
Yeah.
So I get the feeling this could be a horse who had one plan and there may be a different set of plans, but she is having scintigraphy this week at Matamata.
There were some good runs in behind, so let's hear from those.
Well, Blair, she's certainly kept improving.
Yeah, she has, Matt. You know, it's been well documented. You know, the early middle part of her 3-year-old season was very poor, and you know, her start before today was a good 4th, and you know, today she's put herself in the right spot and run a credible 2nd.
Natalie Mack, what did you make of it?
I thought she was excellent, you know, given the time. She was 3 wide the trip. Probably just a mistake. I should have went 4 wide up the back, but hey, when you've been 3 wide on that speed, you don't want to be going 4 wide too early. No, couldn't have been happier.
Looked like she held her own well out there.
Yeah, Matty, good. You know, draw obviously played the part of where she finished, but look, it was a good, honest run, and yeah, to run that time, she stuck on well.
Terry, what did you make of her efforts out there?
Yeah, no, she tried real hard, and the winner New Zealand record, just too far back in a bad draw, really cost us sort of running in the first 4. But no, she's had a real big season this year. She's been up for a long time, so she's due for a paddock, and she could come back better, hopefully.
3-year-old Diamond wrapped up for 2018. Hey, just while we're on the Australian theme, lead time the other night, 24.6 in the Field Marshal race, which was won by...
At Menangle.
Yeah, Match of Heaven.
Yeah.
Very fast. That was unreal.
Possibly an Australasian record, but...
I can't think of them going any quicker.
No,
so.
I can't. They burned off the gate, and it's exciting type of racing. It's Match at Heaven, and winning just goes to show that in those mile races, those early sectionals, 1 second here or 1 second there is
He
crucial.
went great, Field Marshal, and running second.
He's actually really improved.
The Len Smith's obviously the big go.
And then he'll go to Queensland.
How far away is that? Is it?
End of this month.
Lenny the Shark.
Lenny the Shark retired.
Yeah, got to mention him. What a great horse, and I see Chris Alford tweeting out that he believes he's the best of the best. There you go. Big rap from him.
I don't. I think Golden Ram was.
Well, he might be.
Well, people tend to say that stuff at the moment
when it's
quite
in the
emotional.
moment. Yeah.
For me, he was the harness racing version of Northerly. There were faster horses than
Tiger,
Northerly, but they just kept on coming, and even races in the yellow colours and stuff. Look, his Miracle Mile win, and there was no doubt Lazarus was below his best in the Miracle Mile. There's no doubt about that. But he sat parked outside good horses. Smolder was inside him. Hector JJ in front, who was back at the trials actually this week. Smolder inside and Lazarus off his back. Now, Laz was below his best, but still. He's won a Miracle Mile.
Look at his head. He won the New South Wales Derby here.
Just brave and
just kept coming.
He was a warrior.
Yep.
He's what your horse, what you wanted a horse to be. And he's had exactly the same problem many of our stallions in the last 20 years have had, is they've raced too long. Had he retired at this exact moment, and they were not to know to retire him, he won a Victoria Cup after this. Had he retired that night, he could have stood at stud for 4,000 or 5,000. And you can cross him with the betters, the like me's. But he raced on, which is what you do. And we do it so often with our horses in this part of the world, and you devalue.
You do.
And that's reality. I doubt I'll stand him at more than 3,000 now. But you've also got to say, why do you race them? Do you race them to be on the track, or do you race them to be stud horses, which is what the Gallop.
A lot of credit's got to go to David Aiken too, because he did a magnificent job. And John Justice, who had him originally. Yep.
Puppet drove the horse beautifully. He was a brave horse who raced in a very, very tough era, and I think he was a victory of heart over speed. So thank you, Letty. It was good fun, and like Laz, there's a real moving now. Not they're saying golf on the Saturday. It's moving day.
Yeah.
It's moving day now because a whole bunch of horses are disappearing. By the way, with Lazarus later on, stick around. We've got some interesting news coming up about him.
2-year-old Diamond, speaking of horses that are worth a few dollars, Princess Tiffany now 5 from 5. She's won a couple of 100,000, and this really set the day alight. That's her drawn widest out, of course. Natalie Rasmussen driving, Kayla Marie stablemate. They both went back at the start, and I was like, that's an interesting way to start Jules Day, but that changed very quickly.
She's last. She's last, and what's that, 8-10 lengths from the leader?
Have we actually seen this in a harness duel before, where a favourite like that's gone back to last and been, 12, 13 lengths off the lead with 1,200 to go?
Kiwi Ingenuity might have. I'm not sure, but
Don't know if she was that
she was
far
an
back.
awfully long way. And then Natalie just goes, all right, get out of the way. And again, moving between the 12 and the 8. What really surprised me, because she had been a good horse, but she hadn't been totally dominant, smashed them by 5 lengths good. That little break she had, I reckon, helped her. And the indications from the camp and the back end of last week were this horse has really improved. We're really happy. And all of a sudden, the tsunami of money started to come.
This is where things changed a bit. Have time went round to Park. Beautiful drive, Zach Butcher. There's Kayla Marie there, and there was a bit of a schmozzle, and she got checked out of it. And you said on the day,
fantasised gallops here because one of the hopple shorteners didn't come out.
Right.
And therefore, it wasn't her fault or Todd's fault. She knocks the field out of play. Didn't affect the result because Natalie just kept on going. It was like she didn't realise the horses were inside her, and she just said, well, I don't care. It was the most belligerent display.
Her admiration for this horse after the race, I've really seen, and I've done a lot of aftermath interviews with Natalie, and gee, she was just in awe of this filly.
I think everybody was like, what just happened there?
Well, let's just take in what she did to them.
27.6. Then Platinum Revolution further back in the field too, bubbled up and back on the inside to Kayla Marie. Princess Tiffany travels comfortably onto the turn. Armour Indy have time. Bazinga out wider, bubbled up, but it's Princess Tiffany. 150 metres left to go. Donned in the Jules Jacket opens up 2 by 3. Armour Indy have time. Late bubbled up in the unlucky Kayla Marie, but give this Princess her diamond. Princess Tiffany takes a Sandy and Jan Yardley 2-year-old diamond at 154.3 over Armour Indy.
Yeah, hugely dominant performance. Wonderful day for, of course, the Whitelocks and the Crichtons, and they had a lot of fun with this girl's mother dancing diamonds, and they're having a whole lot more now.
She's very, very good. I don't know how good she is, but I can't immediately think of many juvenile fillies who are clearly better, because obviously Adore Me didn't race as a juvenile. So a lot of our great 3-year-old fillies didn't race as juveniles, but she was a mile off these horses. Admittedly, I think there's a lot of tired horses in this crop.
I mean, dream about Me's performance to win from the outside gate at Ashburton
again,
was enormous.
Some of them come to mind, but not many as graphically as this.
Not where she settled and then where she ended up.
She races like a boy, like she's just belligerent and the speed at the end of the race. Now, she is going to the Breeders' Crown. She's the one they have definitely penciled in as well. Hey, and why wouldn't you? She's only had 5 starts. I expected her to win. I didn't expect that to happen.
It was a demolition job.
Well, as I said, I actually think it was the performance of the day, even more so than She's or Rock, because she didn't have the advantage.
Look how she covers the ground,
jumping straight to the market.
Just
whip under the arm. Whew. They're going to need to have a very, very good 2-year-old filly in Australia to beat her, because her improvement curve in the last month has been so steep. I'm absolutely convinced she's 2 or 3 lengths better than she was the last time I saw her. So where that puts her in the lexicon of our best juvenile fillies, well, she's unbeaten so far.
I haven't got any stats in front of me, Michael, but 14 Group 1 winners for the season for Natalie Rasmussen. In New Zealand?
Driving. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a heck of a lot.
The average dividend would be about $2 to
Oh, yeah.
But look, that was... to be honest, I don't think it would have mattered if a sack of potatoes had driven that horse. I mean, you just got to set a sack of potatoes in the sulky,
go around them,
and then just say, here's 5%. What I really liked was John Dunn's drive on Armour Indy, because he was on an inferior horse and he drove it exactly how he needed to drive it to get her a Group 1 placing and the maximum money in return for her owners. So here are those who chased home the princess.
Robert, what were your expectations going into the day?
Well, first of all, Matt, we're hoping she just behaved herself was a big thing, and we thought if she did, then she was a first 4 chance with the draw she got. She was always drawn to be handy, and she's got good gate speed, and turned out she found the front and got a lovely run, but just beaten by a real champion.
Did she surprise you how well she went?
No, not really, because the race all season have been really good. She's only competed in about half of them. She's only had 7 starts, but I mean, she's been a bit of a rat bag, and missed 3 of them. So haven't had a real chance to gauge her ability, but she's always trialled good and worked good, and she's a filly with a bit of upside to her.
What do you do now?
She goes home for a spell, and then she'll come back next season to Davy Butts, I would imagine, down in Christchurch, and I think she's in for a good 3-year-old campaign.
Good result in the end, Zach?
Yeah, super. The race went a lot different than what I thought it was, which is Jules Day for you, and that's what you've got to do and adapt to. So she went super. We ended up getting a good run through and popped round the park the last sort of 800, and hey, you got to give it to her. She stuck on pretty well. Princess Tiffany's a great little filly, and she did well to stay as close as what she did. So she'll be a better horse next year, and onwards and upwards to there.
Tim bubbled up. Good result in the end?
Yeah, really good run, Matt. Obviously got pretty hampered at the half when there's a bit of a skirmish. So we ended up getting a nice run through afterwards. But you know, to run fourth in the sectionals they run, playing catch up from the half, I thought she went super.
Good to look back at the ladies and the diamonds, and gee, there were some great performances there, and I'm sure they'll be etched in the memories of many who are on track, particularly that one.
I thought the girls were the star of the day. You know, obviously Utmost Delight was fantastic. Princess Tiffany was graphic, and she's all rock.
Yeah.
Adore Me's the benchmark. Clearly, we've had some wonderful 3-year-old fillies in this country, but Adore Me has to be the benchmark. But you start to say, well, is she as talented as most of the rest we've seen? It's such a deep, incredible bunch of horses. Every season we have a great 3-year-old, but she's all rock. I get the feeling she's the one who's going to grab more headlines because the story's going to be so unusual. And we'll talk later on a little bit about Lazarus and the American Factor, but she's all rock. Let's not forget, that money's come from Australia to New Zealand via America. She is a truly now international horse, and I'm hoping that sort of thing continues. That's an economy we need to build on. The American market, Greg, died. It just died. And now we know it's back. Heaven Rocks won there on the weekend, obviously a bit of a legend won there on the weekend. And that adds more strings to the bows of people out there who've got a broodmare in the paddock and go, shall I breed one? Because you need markets.
You do. Totally you do.
That market is now clearly alive, and it's alive with success, and that's what makes people come back and buy horses. Proof in the pudding. The bloke who bought She's All Rock paid over $200,000 for a 2-year-old trotter last week. So some people may not like these horses being sold, but
it's money back in the game.
As I said, there's people at home with a mirror in the paddock. The markets are alive now. There's places to sell these horses to if you want to take the gamble to breed one.
Speaking of trotters, we've got to review the 3 that are rubies, of course, and when we return, that's exactly what we're going to do.
No more incredible man on this earth.
It is Ruby time in terms of the harness jewels, and we'll go through these 3 as per the other 2 categories that we have had, and we head to the 4-year-old Ruby. This was the race, Michael, that came down pretty much to one thing. If Enhine trots all the way, he'll probably win, but as we now know, he didn't.
He didn't trot any of the way properly. I mean, he missed the first score up. This is the second attempt at the start, and he gallops here. We'll get back to him later, because it's a huge part of the race and a huge part of the day. While he was out the back being recalcitrant, there's Habibti Inter holding out Sartorius, who actually showed really good gate speed and made things nerve-wracking early, but Habibti Inter held the lead, and round about here, this race was over.
The horse dropping to the trail there is Ismok, a real opportunist, and we'll see this in a couple of the trotting races. The horse that drew 9 followed the leader and therefore got in the right spot. The reason I'm talking about Ismok is part owner Colleen Alcock unfortunately passed away during Jules Week on the Tuesday. She was a massive harness racing fan. She not only raced this horse but also King of Heroes out of Colin and Julie De Phillippi's barn.
Sorry to hear that.
And she was involved in the Invercargill Tricode Syndicate. Look, it was a sad week, but she would have been so proud of this horse, and for him to run second in the race had special connotations as a result.
Yeah, I'm sure her family got at least a few minutes of joy at a tough time during their time. So our condolences go to her family and her friends, of course. The horse in front's going to win this. The horse in the trail, Ismok, is going to run second, and Dance Card, who David Butcher did the right thing going 3 fence, is going to run third, and that's pretty much the case of it. Ingheim is 5 back on the inside. If you took the $1.45 fixed odds or the $1.80 on the tote, you're not feeling too good about life now, but we'll talk about him a little bit later on, because Paul Nairn has won the 4-year-old Ruby 3 times, and this one simply jogged up the straight.
Dressed up, nowhere to go. Further back in the field, Sertorius, Massive, Metro, Smoky Mac. In hind last, swinging for home. Habibi into galloping was Musculus. Ismok on the inside. Dance Craze deep on the passing lane. War Machine down the outside. It's Habibi Inter. Ismok, War Machine and Dance Craze. Habibi Inter though, and the postman Blair Orange. He will deliver the ruby. And Habibi Inter's in 156.6. Ismok for
4 wins on the bounce, as you quite rightly said, Michael, with Wilma's mate last year, and of course the mighty Stig back in 2007, who Paul drove himself, didn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Must have been a good horse.
Did. It was a very good horse. But things that happened at the start of this race, yes, they played into his hands, but he got barrier 1. You can only lead and win. He went 156, and Blair drove him beautifully. And yeah, here's Ian Hines, score up number 1. Now, I spoke to Ricky May about this, and he said there was absolutely no indication that he was going to do this right here, right now.
That's just him. I didn't love the way he warmed up. It didn't greatly turn me on the day, but this is him. He's always been this way. He's a funny little horse. And he's still only 4. He's probably not a totally natural 4-year-old.
And Michael, the explanation you gave on trackside as to the decision that Ricky May had to make, I spoke to Greg Hope about that yesterday, by the way, and he said there was no decision to be made. That was the only decision.
Well, if he'd gone to barrier 3, the horse gets scratched out of the race. He would have galloped again, because clearly he's galloped here from the outside of the front line, and he would have been scratched. So Ricky made 100% the right decision. Obviously, we know it's not a horsemanship issue, because Ricky's one of the best we've ever seen. He's just a funny little horse, and I don't think he likes Cambridge. He had an interrupted week. It can be quite claustrophobic. It's a situation he hasn't been in a lot, being among horses going at that speed.
I put it to Hopey, the information you gave us on the preview show about him being stuck in Melbourne, and did that have an effect, and could it have affected him more than AG's White Sox? He said, I don't think so, but maybe he was just a touch on the fresh side. But he said, I'm searching for a reason why he did it, really.
If it was the first time in his career he's done it, you would have gone, that's him out the back having a gallop now. You go, well, that's just unlucky. But he's done it 4 or 5 times. He galloped in the home straight in a race this year. When
he
he was
still nearly won it, the trotting championship.
But a race, it's actually his first start back. He galloped at the top of the straight, and Habibi Inter bit him. I think Habibi Inter's getting better, by the way. I think the gap between the two is closed. I still think Ingheim is a better horse. But the way the improvement curves are going, I think they're going to have some really good battles. Habibi Inter's turning into a relatively faultless horse. Paul did a great job with him. Blair drove him inch perfectly. So we know lots about that. Paul, of course, is becoming a new dad with Vanji, his wife, in about a month's time. So this will help, because apparently children are expensive. Well done to the Ismok team for running second. Yeah. And Dance Craze covered herself in glory with a storming finish for 3rd, and I wouldn't be surprised if...
What about that stat from the G-Man there? 5 winners of the 4-year-old Ruby have also gone on to win the Dominion. So
yeah, well, the 4-year-olds are obviously the ones who are closer to open class. I wouldn't be stunned if this horse won a Dominion. Paul said Wilma's mate, who won this race last year, is going to be coming back jogging soon.
And I spoke to Hopey yesterday about Mombay. Yeah. He had a look at him yesterday, thought about putting him on the float, thought he looked a bit big in condition, so he put him up a steeper hill. He'll be back in 2 weeks.
Funny enough, this horse, Habibi Inter, who was a bit weak at the end of last campaign, Paul took him to Waikari up there in North Canterbury and chucked him in a paddock on the hill for 3 months, and said he kept himself fit and got stronger by running.
That's what he's hoping to do.
Which is old horseman style.
It is.
You're not going to a nice place. I'm picking the farm of Waikari. Doesn't have too many lovely palatial areas to it. So some of these old trotters need a bit that stamina. So I like the result of the race. Let's get back to Ingheim. If you're a punter and you have had your 5,000, say you're a big player, because there were some big players involved the other day, you're filthy, you're furious that you've backed a horse at barrier 3 and it's gone to a different barrier. Now, that can't happen in the gallops and it can't happen in the hounds, and you're probably thinking that's not fair. 2 things. First of all, the horse people involved did exactly the right thing. Secondly, had the horse stayed in barrier 3 where you expected to back it from, there's absolutely no doubts it would have galloped. I think the rule is appropriate. It doesn't feel comfortable, but you have to trust the judgment of the horseman, and particularly when they're Ricky May. Nobody did anything wrong in that entire scenario. The starter was talking to Ricky. It was a long conversation between Colin and Ricky about that. Everybody did things the way they were supposed to do them, apart from Ingheim.
Yeah, he's the only one who let the side down. But he went great after that, so let's hear about the brigade in behind Habibi Inter.
Made the trip worthwhile, Colin?
Real pleasing, Matt, yeah, considering 2 weeks ago I nearly pulled out, so that was good.
How much improvement do you think there's left in this horse?
Oh, I think he's 12 months away from anything like his best, Matt. Well, I'm hoping so, yes. He's not the nicest trotty to sit behind, but he just wants to be there.
What are your plans with him now?
He's in the paddock for 2 months and then get ready for the cup meeting.
What did you make of the Aussie, David?
Very happy with it. First drive on it too, and got to the line strong. I think if we'd made a straight run coming out to start off with, we might have run a second. But now I could stay and drive that one.
Just capped his season off nicely with a good run, Dex.
Yeah, it was a good note for him to finish on, Matt. He's had a great season down south and had a crack at a couple of Group 1s to finish it off. So it was a really good run today. He's pretty fired up after that false start, but he got round and he didn't disgrace himself by any means.
From what you've felt this campaign, do you think in 12 months' time it could be a genuine Group 1 performer?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Like he's come along leaps and bounds this year. And looking at him, I think his spell is going to get a lot stronger, Matt. So, yeah, next year he should be in for a good season, I think, and then I'm guessing he'll be there at Cup time.
I suppose the most simple way to ask, Ricky, is what happened?
Well, I mean, he actually galloped for no reason coming up the first time, and I was a bit worried because he just had no need to do. He's on the bit, nice behind the gate. He's usually perfect, but don't know why he galloped. And so I had to make a big call to go to Unruly, but I thought he's probably the best horse in it. He can overcome it, but to be fair, he didn't even want to trot from the Unrulies. But he went, when he did trot, he went phenomenal.
Yeah, his run actually to get fifth, as Ricky quite rightly pointed out later on, effectively if he trots all the way, he would have won wouldn't matter if he was 20 metres behind.
Here's a question for you. Who wins 4-year-old trotter of the year? Because Ingham's the best trotter.
Well, funnily enough, I spoke to Hobie about that yesterday, and he said maybe the horse that won it because he's now won 4 on the bounce.
Well, it's the only Group 1. And so Ingham hasn't won a Group 1. He should have won.
He should have won the trotting championship.
Well, and he should have won the Anzac Cup. He got pushed up the track. It wasn't his fault. Le Bon was very good, but he
should have won it.
You can make a case. He's the best horse in this crop. But you can't just vote on what you think.
It's not potential. You can't vote on potential. No.
It would seem weird that BB Inter is potentially going to win 4-year-old trotter of the year, but he won the Jewels, and that's our only Group 1 trotting race. And his record against Ingham's really good. I think he's only met him a couple of times, and he's beaten him at least twice I can think of.
Yes.
So he might win it. Just on Habibti Ivy, I keep getting names mixed up, who's his older sister, Paul said, getting increasingly unlikely we'll see her on the track again. Right. So she'll make a wonderful broodmare. That won't do any harm, the little brother winning the Jewels, but I get the feeling that, or Paul gets the feeling that maybe her issues are too big to overcome. Size-wise, she's by Love You, breeding-wise, Greg, incredibly valuable broodmare in the scheme of New Zealand trotting.
Let's have a look at Winterfell as we check out the 3-year-old Ruby, barrier 1. Some question marks over the start, no question after about 20 metres who was going to lead though.
I had my question marks, as did everybody who had seen the Derby. But when I spoke to Mark last week, he was just blasé. He said, no, he's trotting perfect, he'll just lead. He said they'll need to go very quick to beat him. All of a sudden, it was like Princess Tiffany. Mark's confidence about this horse meant that by the time we got to race start time, I thought, well, this is a stinking moral. And it was.
They only just broke 30 seconds for the first quarter. Such was his dominance on the tote, and I suppose the other drivers thinking, well, we're not going to get the lead, and therefore we can't really burn too much here.
Prime example of people saying, let's get the most out of this we can. Monaro Mia was always going to sit in the trail, and that was beautiful for them and for Nicky and for Salish to get their Group 1 placing. Chris Elford or Wobbly thought, look, we've done some work to get here, we'll sit up, we'll have a breather, and then we'll try and go as quick as we can down the back straight. But there's only so quick he can go. The horse in front is a really good horse. He reminds me, Greg, of a bigger version of Stent, where he's immature and he doesn't know much at 3. If he holds together, he's going to make a wonderful 4, 5, let's hope, 6 and 7-year-old. Couple of moves from the back here.
But the first 3 home, Michael, they barely broke 159, which at this level was just a jog
It
round
was a
for these
trial.
horses.
It was a
And
trial.
therefore, making ground on the first three at this stage of the race was impossible because they're three pretty anti horses. The horse in the trails won a couple of Oaks, and the Aussie
The horse who
horse.
surprised me was Majestic Man. He seemed to be maybe uncomfortable in those surroundings.
Yeah,
there.
he's losing ground there. He's not liking
I don't
the
think he
bend at all.
enjoyed being stuck in there. Either that or he's just underperformed for the night. But at the top of the straight, if you were on the leader, it was a case of just watch, cheer and wait to collect.
Though he's only kidding to them, gives him full bore Winterfell, and he explodes away 3 lengths. Winterfell for the What the Hill 3-year-old Ruby, and he'll do it comfortably in 1:59 from Monaro Mia Wobbly. They were followed by Stress Factor.
Yeah, pretty painless, wasn't it? Bolted in there. Horse like Renesmee, I don't know if she's going to go to the Breeders' Crown, try and defend her title, but she might be in the category of some of those others you were talking about earlier on about, it's been a long season.
Winterfell's not going to the Breeders' Crown, which doesn't surprise me. I think he would be the favourite for that over Wobbly, but you've still got to go there and extend
Wobbly was
yourself.
great.
Wobbly was fantastic. And there's probably not a great deal between them. But he's not going regardless. So the Victorian Trotters Derby could have been on his dance card, but it's not going to be. Also coming out of the All-Stars, most importantly, Luby Lou is now not going to the Breeders' Crown. Now, she was going to go to the Breeders' Crown. Let's not forget, Luby Lou's probably better than this horse. Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting for the voting for 3-year-old Trotter of the Year, because
There you
Luby Lou,
go. Ninth slowest in the 3-year-old history of the Jewels.
as I said, it was a trial once the lead and
But you only have to go fast enough to win.
Of course you do. So Luby Lou's not going to go because, as Mark said, I can't get her ready for the heat. And I said, well, look, how tough can a heat be? He said, I'll tell you how tough it can be. This goes to show you how much research he does. He said, Renesmee and Showgate will be in the heat. I can't go to the heat.
Thinking I can just line up. Yeah.
So, as he said, Luby Lou will probably go to the paddock. He'll discuss it with Ken Brecken, but almost certainly, because she'll probably have to qualify in Australia, which makes that campaign awfully long. Winterfell goes to the paddock. I don't think anybody doubts Greggy's going to come back a very, very serious horse.
Yeah.
Monaro Mia's been one of the finds of the autumn. She may not be that good, but she's been beautifully placed. And I thought Wobbly showed that, take Wobbly out of that race, and it's been a very poor spectacle. As it was, at least there was the yellow colours versus the green colours down the back straight. So,
and it was great to have Chris Alford at the Jewels. And,
doesn't do any harm, because much in the same way that you're watching at home, you're having a bet at Randwick, you'll back J-Mac because you know James McDonald and you think, oh, I'll back him. Chris Alford in reverse has that same effect on the Australian punters.
So let's hear from those beaten by Winterfell.
Chris, what are your assessments of Wobbly's efforts out there today?
Yeah, no, quite happy, from the draw, having to sit outside one of Mark's. I thought he was really brave.
What are your plans with him now?
He'll go home and he'll have our sire stakes the end of this month, and then our Derby and Breeders' Crown.
Tim, Stress Factor, pretty good effort out there today.
Yeah, look, he's been a hard horse to catch at times, Matty, this season, but you obviously know the ability's there, so, pleasing today the way he went and, found the line good. That's, only ones that were in front of him turning in that beat him home, so, really happy with the result.
And the Brecken colours there, just want to make mention of their farm. They reared 10 Jewels runners for the day out of the Brecken Farms establishment, and had 5 runners, Ken and Karen, that they were either part owned or owned on Jewels Day. That's a pretty good record.
And they enjoyed their day, and that's where it's important that places like Cambridge and Addington next season make sure the owners and the sponsors on occasions have an elite experience, because you can't afford to lose them. You can't afford to lose people who are breeding this many horses. They'd never enjoy this day, but they'll be back. They'll have another. They had they had a share in another masterpiece, but they were a huge part of the day, and they enjoyed it too. So that's a pretty good indicator when those major players enjoy their day at their office.
Let's go to the 2-year-old Ruby to wrap up the Jewels 2018. The hot favourite was Enhance Your Calm. He's yet to be beaten publicly, whether it be at the trials or on race day. And with Oscar Bonavina drawn the back row, settling 3 the fence we'll see very shortly, and then having a gallop, it meant it was by how much really. He's very smart, this horse.
He is. He also looks like he's had a long season, and Mark's almost sticker taping him together at the moment. But he did say in the last week, this horse has actually bounced back. And that's the thing about 2-year-olds. They grow, Greg, and they stop growing and they start growing again, and they go from one, good to bad to good to bad. He's obviously right in the zone. So he's in front, and a very good horse in Full Noises in the trail. Here's Oscar Bonavina, 3 deep on the inside on his new colours. Oscar B, as he's going to be known. And then Oscar B goes, look, this has all been a bit too much for me. I've been sold, I've paid big money, I've got new owner, I've moved barns. I've never been 3 back on the inside before.
What am I doing here?
I'm out of here. Sometimes it's like when you go to work, sometimes you think, what am I doing with my life? Well, Oscar B felt that way about life. And that left with 5 of them. And I actually feel for the Jones camp with Doff Your Cap, because here, the winner's a done deal.
Yes.
It's just a matter of going around for another lap and they give you some money if you backed it. Full Noise, I think, potentially might have been just a little bit getting over that cold it had during the week. I think Full Noise is a really
He's a
good
horse to follow, isn't he?
Oh, there's no doubts he's going to be the real deal. He was trotting a bit rough and behind there. He didn't look entirely happy. Doff Your Cap is the last of those horses. And it pulls wide, and I thought Cameron drove it beautifully and gave it every chance, but we'll see in the home straight as Aaron brings them home that it's the one who rolls into a gallop, and I thought it was the one I felt for, because it probably could have finished second. Cheerful, who's sitting park, does a good job. She actually will go to the Breeders' Crown because it's split between the 2-year-old boys and girls, so she can go and race exclusively against the girls. But once again, Greg, the yellow colours are in front and a relatively painless watch down the straight.
On the outside of Cheerful, Full Noise waiting the passing lane, then Sonny's Little Jesting, Homeward Bound and Heart Your Calm. Doff Your Cap is coming strongly after it, 2 lengths away, and there followed Full Noise, and further back in the field to Cheerful. Doff Your Cap went for a gallop, and Heart's Your Calm, Mark Purdon, and Calmly will pick up the Ruby and remain unbeaten. 2 Jules Jackets take the first 2, 1:59.5 the time. Full Noise for...
Yeah, he dominated, as he has done pretty much all season, and with his arch rival being Oscar Bonavina out of play, he won very comfortably there. Just on Doff Your Cap, hopefully he's going to develop into his frame, because that's not the first time he's done that.
He put his head down, looked like he looked at something.
Yeah.
Put his head down and popped up.
He was thinking about something.
Yeah, Cheerful was pretty good considering what she is, and as I said, she'll go to the Crown. Full Noise is a horse they're going to have a stack of fun with. And just on the Full Noise, and to all those Southerners, horses like Royal Bengal who came south,
well done to them. Yeah,
gutsy. That's why you race horses. You race them for the dream, and sometimes they're too tired to go. But some people rolled the dice with horses from a long way away. And I applaud those people. I think it was great, and without you, the Jewels wouldn't exist. So some had success like Full Noise, some did not. Oscar Bonavina is going to go to the paddock, and obviously it's back to the drawing board, but to me he's got a massive 3-year-old season ahead. And Heart Your Calm's having Scintigraphy at Matamata at the same time as She's All Rock.
You like that word, don't you?
I like to say Scintigraphy so people say I'm really smart, but I actually had to look it up on Google how to spell it yesterday because I don't actually know. I'll tell you later if you want me to. He will probably go to the Crown, and if he goes to the Crown, he could go to the Redwood, which is a $50,000 standing start.
At Maryborough, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, on Derby Day. So there's potential places for this horse to go. Well done to Gavin Smith, who prepared this horse and offered it to Mark.
Majestic Sun Quinella, he had 2 winners on the day.
Well, every time you look at a 2-year-old trot, Majestic Sun's winning it.
The other one was by Love You, of course.
He's just having an incredible... I think everybody who wants to breed a trotter at the moment, Majestic Sun's probably not going to get them a Dominion Handicap winner, but everybody who wants a 2- and 3-year-old player, they just go, well, I just got to get a Majestic. I've got one. Everybody's got one. So beaten drivers will be interesting here because a lot of them weren't even a factor in the race.
Brent, what did you come into the day expecting from Full Noise?
I thought if we just trotted all the way today and could run and fought, we'd be very happy.
Okay, during the run, what was going through your head?
He was very keen early when the gate left. We actually had a gallop going up behind the gate, settled. After that, he was very keen early. I was flat letting Mark go. He went another 100 metres, dropped the bit, and after that, I was real happy with him.
You've driven plenty of good horses in your time. Is there a heap of improvements still to come from him?
I do believe so, yeah. He's just going to be a real nice horse for the future.
Tim, Cheerful, what did you make of it?
Yeah, look, lovely filly, and didn't disgrace herself again today. She's been right up to the play in all 3 starts now, and just a credit to the filly. She's lovely way of going and just trots, and she stuck the whole way up straight today. So really pleased. Great way for her to end the season.
Mango, pleased with her efforts today?
Oh yeah, Matty, she went good. did everything right today and was a good fourth, you know. Probably could have run a little bit closer for a little bit more room up the straight, but look, fourth was good for her and she went good.
Where to for her now?
She'll go paddock now, Maddie. She's had a long season, so we'll put her out for a couple of months.
That wraps it up race-wise from the Jules 2018. We'll take a short break, come back with a few numbers for you and a little bit more information out of your box seat. This is the final episode, of course. So we've had a look at the racetrack performances, Michael, from Jules Day. So there's quite a few horse movements that we've talked about and where the horses are going to go. Gee, the stewards were busy on Saturday.
I'm not going to slag the stewards for the job they do because they have a lot of different angles to footage and stuff. A couple of these things I thought were just silly. Take, for example, Kayla Marie. Now, Kayla Marie's drawn barrier 7. By it being out of position, it doesn't affect the start of the race at all because there's nothing behind it. Now, it was probably half a length off the gate. I don't see why that's a $400 fine. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Whereas if you're out of position and it involves a horse
directly behind you.
Or, for example, if she was out of position and gave Princess Tiffany, her stablemate, an advantage because there she's got one less horse to go across, then I would see why you fine her. But Princess Tiffany was back at the start too.
Yeah.
I know it's a rule. I think it's a dumb rule.
Okay. Fair enough.
D Butch got a tyre on the last race on 888.
So he got 3 days.
He was coming out and look, Brent Barclay's got a day suspension for being out of position on.
It's pretty cold in the south. You don't mind not going to one of those race meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got to ask you a question about Dexter Dunn. When does Dexter leave?
After Nelson this week. That was the plan anyway.
So he's driving at Nelson, but he's not driving at Magiggle on Saturday?
I wouldn't have thought they'd go. I don't know if Blair would go from... Oh, he might do. Nelson and Invercargill and back.
Yeah, no, Blair's scheduled to drive at both.
Okay.
So...
Oh, well spotted, Michael. You're on your toes, as were the punters on Saturday. Let's have a look at some of the big wins. Decent plays on She's All Rock there, as you can see. Painless. That was good bet on Eamon Maguire and on Solid Gold to get a placing at $4.80.
Smart.
By the same token, there were a few that got involved and didn't get the result.
Look, they're decent plays.
Yeah,
and that's what happens when you get, horses you think are going to jump to the marker pegs and those speed maps, which are becoming more relevant in harness racing. And basically people said, okay, I'm willing to have 10 or 20,000 on. That adds liquidity to the market, and that's saw Ali Mack get out to 550. And so those big punters, they may not be you, but they actually help you go hunting for other winners if you're that way inclined.
Facebook competition.
Everybody won.
It was good.
Nice. And Matt Cross was the star of the show.
Yeah, he was. He got his multi up, which is a great effort. Win Princess Tiffany, win She's All Rock, win Winterfell, and then place on Sheriff. Now, that would have been a whole lot more painful, obviously, if he'd taken Sheriff a win, but $2,020 dropped in for
Craig had no luck with
person.
Sicario, but he got it right with Delishka each way. It wasn't my money, so whoever got my win, I thought, well, I'll go easy money for you, and they got 835. Well done to you, mate. Eamon Maguire, which
well, I just wanted to go
you were very
out.
strong on.
Yep.
Just by the way, we got some feedback that somebody was suggested that the older presenters, us and the Big Fish, give Matt Cross a very hard time, and we sat down and we discussed it. It could be a human resources issue, and we discussed it in the green room, and we're still going to give Matt Cross a hard time.
Yep, so that will continue.
I think it happens when you're a rookie. Now Matt's about 5 years in. Because of that feedback, we are going to reduce that to 9 years. So we'll give Matt a hard time for another 4 years. We'll see how things go. Might be. We might go the whole team.
You talked about the harness, Jules, before in terms of you would have loved 1,000 more people to be there. The cold had a big part to play.
The wind chill did it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I know Harness Racing New Zealand had discussed with you the previous year the possibility of shifting the Jules.
They raised it at executive level.
Right.
What do you think? What do you want to happen?
I would love us to run the Jules qualification period like this. 1st of January to 31 December, 2-year-old section therefore becomes the 3-year-old, 3 becomes the 4 and the 4 the 5. So you qualify in that 12-month period and then we race probably about the 3rd week in January. 1, it would miss the majority of carnivals. 2, it'll be nice and warm. Like, you couldn't have said to your family on Saturday, come to Cambridge, we'll put out a picnic and sit out on the grass. Well, the grass was wet, so that wasn't going to happen.
And they were the people who were missing.
No, definitely.
The Cambridge did a great job.
No knock on them
And
at
I
all.
think the people inside or in the marquees had a wonderful time. I agree with what you say. I think there is merit in suggesting we go to January to boost it and make it more of an event. And you can,
but it's not going to happen.
You can have all the bouncy castles and that sort of stuff. I put that to Edward Brunel yesterday and he said that's not on the table at the moment. He also said to me, I can't confirm Cambridge will have 2020. It's an executive decision.
But it'll happen.
But I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
So
it should.
It's not on the table. I agree with you. I would prefer to now see the Jules go to a warmer climate. But you also say to yourself, the extra 1,000 people you might get, or might even be 2,000 to come to the races, while that would add a great atmosphere, most people watching the Jules watch it on television, so would it change their experience?
But you know what,
much?
Michael? It's not just about the crowd on course, because it would enhance the New Zealand Cup, the Auckland Cup, the Cambridge feature racing over. All of those things would be enhanced by shifting.
What about the 2-year-old thing? Do you think there'd be a confusion about the 2-year-old thing?
I don't think so at all. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, the 2-year-olds would race through to that carnival at Addington in May. Then they can have a nice break. The sire stakes would be enhanced.
Put it this way, if someone told me tomorrow that was happening, I'd go, cool. I've got no issue with that. If somebody told me it's never going to happen, well, what we've got works, but it could work better. And they were lucky. It rained really heavily in Hamilton.
And that's not the first time.
And they called off the gallops at Te Rapa after 2 races on Sunday. Had that been Saturday, it would have been a washout. So I think, I'll put it as simply as this. I think for the work harness race in New Zealand and the club they deserved a bigger crowd.
They did.
And I think you're going to struggle to get a bigger crowd while you have winter where that glamorous fashion is sit on the blanket on the grass type thing. Probably isn't in play for some people.
Speaking of fashion, well done to Katie McNamara too, winning the fashion comp there.
Actually, we should stop making jokes about
Mark. And the comments about Mark Mack.
We
wasn't entirely happy with what you had to say about children's clothes.
We're going to stop picking on Mark McNamara and Matt Cross by 2025.
Good. It's been a great season, hasn't it, Michael? Really enjoyed it.
It's our last show for a while.
Yeah, it is. So we've come up with our season highlight, and here they are. This is yours. The brand's pick was the Mighty Laz.
I'm not sure it was his best win, but he went to the other side of Australasia and he beat their best horses sitting parked, and it was just magnificent.
Lazarus has won the Inter-Dominion. Chicago Bull second.
Well, that was my second top pick, because invariably, if you ask me, Michael, what my highlight of the season is, each and every year it'll be the New Zealand Cup, because it's the pinnacle, and this horse went back-to-back, of course. He didn't win by as far as he did the previous year, but it was as impressive.
It's all over here, folks. He's going to do it again. He's out by 8. It's Lazarus clear of Jack's Legend and Tiger Tara. Get Nasser on the phone. He is in another orbit. Lazarus does it again. Lazarus beat Jack's Legend, Tiger Tara and Max.
And another great call from Mark McNamara. You've got some more news on Laz too.
Yeah, interesting. Mark Purden gets a text message on Saturday morning, and can you imagine how many text messages he got on Saturday? And it's from Jimmy Takter, leading trainer in the US, former Swede, of course, and he's texted Mark and said, the horse has arrived, it's in great condition, I'd love to have a chat at some stage. And Mark's like buzzing, he's like, horse would be cool. Never actually spoken to Jimmy Takter. And they're going to have a discussion about the ins and outs of the horse and what he wants to do with him. Mark said, look, if the horse is racing well, I might go up and watch him in September. And it's got me thinking too, at the moment, Dexter Dunn is soon going to be driving in the States. And there's been a total disengagement between New Zealand and US harness racing for an awfully long time. Since Lyell Creek raced, we had the little thing where Auckland Reactor went up there and he flopped, and we were, okay. And it's on in the mornings and you can watch Yonkers and stuff, but I don't know anybody who bets on it. I just think it's untapped. At the moment, we have Heaven Rocks, won a big race on the weekend, or won a race on the weekend. Bit of a Legend, won a very good race on the weekend with $200,000. Lazarus is going to be there, and Dexter, if ever. And here's Laz at his new place. This is him at Jimmy Takter's property. If ever there's going to be a re-engagement, Gregory, between US harness racing and New Zealand, it's going to be in the next 6 months. I'm not saying it's going to be a big deal and everybody's going to just back all over the place, but I think Trackside might get behind it. Harness Racing New Zealand suggested they want to get behind it. I think the fact there's no fixed odds and there's very poor form out of the US is a big problem. But I do think that the general interest in US harness racing, with Dexter and Lazarus in particular, could be honed a bit over the next 6 months. And if it can't be in the next 6 months, it never will be.
I know when you're serious. It's like when my mother was serious when I was young. You call me Gregory, so I know when you're serious. Speaking of serious, it's been a big year for our producer, Glenn Bourne.
You just compared me to your mother,
wow.
who's a far nicer person than I am.
Way nicer. Here's what Glenn Bourne felt was his highlight. This big win by Cherie Tomlinson, giving her first Group 1, and what a moment it was for her, the Ford family, and Amaretto's son.
Amaretto's son's getting an inside run. Amaretto's son and Cherie Tomlinson won it. Amaretto's son from the foot tapper who got the running.
Yeah, great day at Addington Raceway. The Dominion and the salute there from Miss Cherie was, at her stage of her career, driving her first Group 1 winner, and to think of showing the shillelagh to the crowd like that, she's a real talent, isn't she?
Great season. That was one of the highlights because it was so different from other things we've seen. Lazarus was fantastic. We've lost some mates along the way. The Bob McArdles, the Jack Carmichaels, of course. We've lost Pilch and other people involved in your lives too. It's been a wonderful thing to be part of, Gregory. If someone said to me, we've got 32 shows to do, I would not have thought we could get through them all, mate. It's been great fun. Thank you to you. Thank you to Glenn Bourne. He's our producer. You probably don't know who he is, and look, let's be honest, no one cares. But he does do a great job with all that sort of stuff. We hope you enjoyed Jules Day, and we hope that they let us come back and talk at you again in October.
Yeah, thanks heaps, Michael, for your input. Don't forget, next week in this time slot, a complete wrap of Harness Jules 2018. That's been the box seat. Hope you've enjoyed the season as much as we have.